This is embarrassing for me to say out loud, but I'm just going to rip the band-aid off. I'm only human. I know it's cringe, I'm ashamed, I wish I was something more, but that's the truth of the matter, that's the brass tacks. I'm just a simple mortal, just like all of you, only shorter, though I prefer to call myself fun-sized. I smile when I'm happy, I frown when I'm sad, and today I'm frowning, because From Software seems to be going into Sony's clutches. A lot of information has come out since I covered this story a few days back about the parent company of From Software, Kadokawa, being acquired by Sony. A move that I think would potentially ruin FromSoft's spotless record. From Software has been under Kadokawa for a long time, and under them, they've been able to produce some of the best games we've ever seen, at least in my opinion. It's my favorite genre. The Souls series, the whole Souls genre, is so near and dear to my boners, and I don't want to see anything jeopardize that quality that From Software has been able to deliver, and I truly believe under Sony's umbrella, there is a chance it gets shitified. Truly shitified. Sony has a proven track record of being very hands-on, putting their fingers in the pies, going into the kitchen with the cooks and pretending like they know better with the recipe. We've seen it multiple times, and trust me, I know Sony's not just one person. It's not, Paul Sony at the head of it pulling all the strings. I get it. But Sony, as an entity in the gaming space, has some high highs and some very low lows. And recently, it's been a lot of lows for Sony in gaming. I'm not going to keep bringing up Concord, but I just brought up Concord. You're welcome. The point is, and Helldivers 2, I will never let that go. The point is, I just would like to see From Software continue to operate the way that it has been, because I think they've been operating optimally. And a few days back, it was reported that Kadokawa, the parent company of From Software, was in talks with Sony to be bought out by them. A move that I was not necessarily, getting excited for. You wouldn't catch me ripping my shirt off like Hulk Hogan going ballistic celebrating. So I was a little concerned, and I was hoping that maybe the talks would fall apart, like maybe I'd put in a phone call to Kadokawa and beg them, grovel at their feet to not do it. A lot more information has come out since that. And also, I didn't even recognize just how big Kadokawa was, even outside of gaming. From Software is a component of Kadokawa, but it's not the biggest part. Kadokawa actually has a massive publishing arm. They are huge for manga. And Sony has already shown that they love monopolies, such as the whole Crunchyroll Funimation debauchery. I'm not going to get into that. Sony, with a Kadokawa purchase, would not only give them FromSoft, which of course hurts me down to my very soul, but it would give them like a fucking stranglehold on manga, at least to a certain extent. They wouldn't have all of it, but they'd have a sizable chunk of that market. They would have like publishing manga by the fucking nipples and a titty twister with Kadokawa under Sony. And as I said, I think consolidation is not good. Like having everything in the world be owned by like a few mega corporations, like super giga corporations, is atrocious. That's a bad future. And it's looking like this is kind of gonna be a done deal pretty soon, because this new information actually shows that it was Kadokawa going to Sony asking for them to purchase them, not the other way around. The lore starts to become thicker than a bowl of oatmeal as we get introduced to a new villain here, Kakao. So, Kadokawa had actually been pushing Sony towards a purchase. There was fear that Kadokawa would be subject to a hostile takeover from the South Korean company Kakao. Now, I'm not going to sit here and cosplay Smart Man and pretend that I know anything about Kakao. This is the first time I've ever heard of this company. I know butt fuck all about them. Only what I've looked up. And they are massive. Like, they are a huge company. They got the nuts over there. Like, that company doesn't have a great reputation from what I've read about, but they have a lot of power and they got a lot of doubloons at their disposal. And it seems like there was claims of a hostile takeover of Kadokawa by Kakao. And Kadokawa did not want to be owned by a foreign entity, thus they approached Sony with this offer of buying them out. According to Bloomberg reports, they'd both been going back and forth for a number of years, with the former wanting Sony to make the full purchase, whereas Sony was really just kind of interested in the strategic investments in anime and video game IP. But Kadokawa is sticking to their guns saying, no, you get the whole kit and caboodle if you want us. So it's Kadokawa that wants Sony to buy everything. It also mentions that Tencent, Kakao, and Microsoft all expressed interest in Kadokawa. It doesn't confirm that they wanted to fight off a foreign entity, but it's very heavily implied, and mentions that this purchase would be more about the anime and manga that Sony would then have in its meaty paws. They really would have a ton of that market. Based on everything I've been reading about, if Sony gets Kadokawa, that's kind of scary for anime and manga. To have one company have that much, that is pretty yucky. And it seems like that's the direction this is going. It's pretty sad. I'm not excited about it, but learning about Kakao being potentially worse kind of helps the pill go down a little easier through my gullet. If it's between Sony and Kakao, most people are saying Sony is the lesser of two evils. Again, I am in the dark on Kakao, but people seem to treat them like Voldemort. Like there are people that just really seem to hate that company. But I know Sony like the wrinkles on my nutsack, so I can say with confidence, I am not thrilled about them being in control of From Software. I'm not optimistic about the direction that they would push them. Like, I really feel like they would micromanage From Software, and it seems like Sony is hell-bent on injecting live service into any fucking thing that breathes. It's disgusting. So I'm not super optimistic about that. This really seemed like choosing between poop and shit, with Sony and Kakao being the only options here. And from what I'm reading, it looks like we're choosing the poop, which arguably better than the shit, I suppose. So I guess we'll see how it all plays out. Should this actually be finalized? It's not, it's not in the books yet, but it seems like it's kind of already checkmate here. And a lot of people were saying, well, why can't things just continue as they have been? Why can't it just be business as usual and let FromSoft and Kadokawa just keep doing what they're doing? Well, that's not how a hostile takeover works. If Kakao really is setting their sights on that, they wouldn't be able to just, plug their ears and close their eyes to it. It's not like they can just ignore it and it goes away like the boogeyman or something. So it looks like there's going to be some changes with FromSoft. Hopefully I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. I hope like in a year from now, 2 years from now, whenever FromSoft has their next big game on the horizon, I hope I am proven so wrong. Like maybe they only get better under Sony's leadership. But I'm still not happy about it in general. Even if you're like the biggest Sony fan, you should still not celebrate something like this because, again, consolidation is not good for industries. It's just not. You don't want everything to be owned by just a handful of unbelievably powerful, gluttonous corporations. It's not good. And that's exactly what will happen if this goes through. Not necessarily with gaming. Yes, they get another huge studio under their belt, but where they'd have a ton of power would be in the anime manga sector, where they are big boys, big boys, absolutely mammoth boys. Like they would be huge, and that's not good because you need things to be competitive with other companies out there, and it wouldn't be like a monopoly or anything. There is others that would be competing, but it's still not good to consolidate like that. At least I don't think so. I feel like most people probably feel the same. So anyway, I just wanted to give you a little update to this story because this is a little different than I thought it would be. I thought this was Sony getting extremely greedy and approaching Kadokawa. It was actually the other way around, where Kadokawa came to them in like an emergency situation, like, hey, we'd really rather be with you guys than Kakao. We think you guys would be better partners than Kakao. So it was Shu being on the other foot here. It was Kadokawa approaching them. So that does change things a lot. That's really about it. So yeah.